All right, good evening. I'm Ben Becker. You just watched live the Davis Deegan debate on Action News Jax. Now you're ready for the post-game show. Again, I'm Ben Becker, and I'm joined by an esteemed panel here. Nick Helen, City Councilman, how you doing?
Doing great, Ben. Thanks for having me.
And Daniel Henry, head of the Democratic Party of Duval County.
Always fun, Ben.
All right, so we got our Democrat, we have our Republican, we have me. Let's get ready to rumble, like Davis and Deegan did tonight. Look at that picture, by the way. Do they look like they're ready to rumble?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Both not happy with each other, right? Look at that. All right, so I'm going to leave it first, Daniel, to you. First thoughts of what you saw tonight.
I think Donna Deegan did a great job in highlighting why she's running in the first place. She's running to make sure that our communities are safe. She's running to make sure that we bring true change to a city that desperately needs it. And if you were just tuning into this election tonight, I think she was able to give you something that was very hopeful and something that I think you can count on.
What was your big takeaway, Nick?
Daniel Davis is the clear choice for mayor. I mean, public safety is the #1 issue on every voter's mind right now. Daniel Davis stands with public safety, and public safety stands with Daniel Davis. But you don't have to take my word for it. He's endorsed by Law and Order Governor Ron DeSantis, former sheriff and current Congressman John Rutherford, existing sheriff right now, TK Waters, the FOP, the firefighters, even sheriffs from Baker, Clay, and Brevard counties.
Even like Deputy Dog, I think, is behind Daniel Davis at this point.
All of Law and Order.
Are you surprised he came out with that right away?
No, it's the #1 issue for voters right now. I'm not surprised at all. And it's clear that that is the issue that is central to what we're dealing with here for the next 8 years of a mayoral administration.
Now, what do you take away of that tact that he took, Daniel?
I think it's more of the same. Honestly, a career politician getting establishment support is not particularly surprising, but I think anyone, if you ask themselves for the last 8 years, do you feel more safe than you did 8 years ago when Lenny Curry first came into office? I would think the resounding answer is no. And for us to be able to deal with the violent crime rates that we're seeing and the issues where people don't feel safe in their houses, we really have to deal with the systemic issues that cause crime. Donna wants to fix those issues. Daniel Davis is not even talking about them.
Daniel made a point of mentioning, look, hey, I'm going to add, I think 400 officers if I get elected. Lenny Curry added a bunch of officers. That hasn't necessarily helped. So can Jacksonville police its way out of this problem? You're saying no, not necessarily.
Yeah, both Donna and Daniel have talked about adding more officers on the force. Great, we all agree on that one. But when we talk about the issues that cause crime, poverty, housing instability, dealing with education, dealing with literacy, dealing with intervention that will hopefully stem this problem from happening in the first place, I think that will solve the issue of crime. A lot of people have to wait 20, 30 minutes for response times because they don't have enough officers on the beat. But if we reduce crime, deal with the issues that cause it, we'll be a better city for it.
And he came after Deegan on trying to defund the police, but do you think there's some water to that, or do you think he's kind of flailing away trying to come up with something to nail her on?
No, there's absolutely water to that. She cited the Safer Together report tonight, which both recommended defunding the police and talked about civilian review boards. She's on record supporting activist civilian review boards, which my favorite line of the night was Daniel Deegan saying, Daniel Davis saying, we have civilian review boards. They're called elections. And Ben, I got to tell you, we need law enforcement professionals running law enforcement. Before I was a politician, I was a naval officer. Spent a couple years with Navy SEAL boat teams. And one thing I can tell you is we don't need politicians and civilians fighting wars. We also don't need politicians and civilians fighting crime.
Daniel, you have a look on your face right now. What are you thinking?
I just think it's ironic that we're talking about how we don't need politicians dealing with issues of crime, yet he's using politicians to create a bona fide that he's qualified to deal with issues of crime. People hear that double talk and they don't get anything out of it. What they want to hear about how you're going to solve crime issues, how you're going to make sure that the response times I have, if I have an issue, are low, how you're going to make sure that I feel safe walking down my streets in the neighborhoods, how you're going to make sure that my kids don't have to fear a pullover and a traffic stop or dealing with any kind of issue. Those are the issues that people talk about. But if you keep on talking about these centralized talking points that really don't mean anything, we're never going to fix the problem.
So they started talking from policing. They went to the economy and economic development. It seemed like Davis kind of loosened up, Nick. You know, there's no secret that the first debate, you know, wasn't the loosest guy in the crowd here. He was a little bit looser tonight, but you know, when he got to talk about sort of stuff that would be in his wheelhouse, he kind of felt a little bit better talking about it. What jumped out to you about when he talked about economic development?
Well, not only does Daniel Davis have a history of supporting law enforcement with the Jacksonville journey during his time on City Council and adding 100 officers during his time on City Council, but he also has a long history of bringing jobs and companies to Jacksonville. PaySafe, Dun & Bradstreet, Amazon. This man has 10 years experience, and he'll leverage that in the mayor's office, bringing companies to our city and creating jobs.
Now you look downtown, Daniel, and say, "Hey, man, you know, there's still a lot of ways to go." He's been ahead of down there running a lot of that stuff for a long period of time. Would you say enough's been done or not? The fact that he's been in charge of a lot of this stuff, and is enough happening?
No, I don't think so at all. I think a lot of times it's great for us to have press conferences. We welcome the new big city, that new big company that comes to Jacksonville. We think we're the better for it, but this city and the chamber does not put enough emphasis on small business, on making sure that we're highlighting entrepreneurialism, that we're making sure that a lot of these spaces that we're creating in these buildings that we're setting up are actually filled with people that are from Jacksonville, building a business in Jacksonville, and is going to support them. Donna Deegan talked about that. Daniel Davis didn't.
So you're saying the chamber focuses on the big guy and not the little guy. What do you say to that?
Not true. They focus on helping small businesses all the time. And actually, from a city perspective, we have a lot of small business incentive programs. So Daniel Davis just knows how to bring business. He knows how to create jobs. He is the right guy.
You guys don't agree on anything. You know that?
We agree that Jacksonville needs to be a place where people want to grow and live and thrive. We just have a different way of kind of getting there.
All right, how about this? All right, you agree, you both like the Jags, right?
That's right.
All right, so it came up tonight about the new stadium or possibly the massive renovation. It's going to be probably $1 billion and $500 million, maybe more from the city. Both gave their vision of it. Nick, first to you. What do you think of what Davis said?
I loved one of his quotes. Daniel Davis said that we can both protect the taxpayers and be Jags fans and have a long-term relationship with the Jacksonville Jaguars in our city and have all of that at the same time. That is something that is his vision. The Jaguars are instrumental to the success of our city, and he's going to make sure that the taxpayers get a good deal.
All right, so he made a point of saying, hey, I'll do the negotiating. I won't farm it out like Donna Deegan. But then Donna Deegan said, hey, you're going to give away the house for Lot J. Remember Lot J? So, Daniel, you say what?
Listen, Donna came with the receipts in that particular moment. I think past history is always prologue. He has shown over the course of the last 8 years that he has not shown an interest in protecting the taxpayer's dollar. Donna Deegan was out in force during that time saying that Lot J was a bad deal. And she's willing to say that for Jacksonville, we need to make sure that we have educated, qualified people that are in these negotiations that are going to be able to go head to head with Shad Khan. I think anyone that's been paying attention has said that the Jacksonville City Council and the Jacksonville Mayor's Office has gotten rolled on Shad Khan in every deal that's come in front of them.
Listen, Nick, you have to admit, a lot of cities, when they go up against NFL owners, it doesn't come out well. All right? So we'll see. Now, let's move on. Let's talk about, let's say, UF campus downtown. That was the topic tonight. All right. So we're looking at $50 million from the city. We're looking at $50 million in private money. We're looking at $100 million eventually from the state. This is a big commitment that would go downtown. Is this something that could be beneficial for Jacksonville? Both candidates seem to agree on that.
Yeah, and again, Daniel Davis said it exactly right. Everyone needs to have skin in the game, and this is going to be a great thing for our city. Having a UF campus downtown, offering wonderful degrees, master's degrees that will drive jobs, attract companies. Like you said, the state's putting in, the city's putting in, and private folks are putting money in. This is going to be terrific for Jacksonville.
Like how I remembered all that? Right?
Yeah.
Like that?
That was good.
Donna Deegan, though, said, hey, I want more details. Okay, I like the idea, but really, I want to look under the hood before I take the car for a spin.
Wouldn't it be wonderful for you to actually have office holders that are actually interested in the details of a plan before they sign on to it? I think when this first came to light, everyone was excited about it. I'm excited about it. I think UF being in Jacksonville is great. Do I think the city has an obligation to make sure that we get commitments on where's the site going to be? How much is it going to cost ultimately? What's the return on investment? Is this a guarantee that the city and the state and private investors are actually going to get this money, or is it just talk and loose commitments? I think that's what she was trying to get at, and I think voters want to know that information too.
Let's talk about JEA. And again, they agreed on a lot of things. They both say, hey, I will not sell JEA, but look, she attacked Daniel Davis about JEA, saying he was helping driving something a long time ago. So I'll start with you, Nick. What do you make of that attack? Do you buy it?
No, Daniel Davis was not in office during the JEA sale process. In fact, what I loved about tonight is Daniel actually offered good solutions, good policy solutions moving forward regarding JEA. JEA is our municipal utility. The taxpayers, the city owns JEA, and JEA needs to have our best interests in mind. And Daniel said very specifically he's going to make sure that the ratepayers are getting a fair deal moving forward. And that's what's important.
And the reason why this is a big deal is because there's something at the state level right now. They're talking about a situation where maybe a utility would not have to pay a local municipality for their agreements. Right now, the city receives $120 million from JEA. If the city didn't get that money anymore, you could argue, what's the point of then owning JEA because you're not getting the 120? If the 120 went away, can you make the case JEA should be sold? Daniel, what say you?
I don't think there's any situation where you can argue that selling JEA is something positive. And let's be honest, this whole debacle that has coursed over for the last 4 years has shown multiple indictments, multiple resignations, a charter referendum that had to change the charter that says that you couldn't sell the utility without the citizens' consent. All of these issues are out in the forefront. Everyone hated the idea. Daniel said absolutely nothing. Once more, he made sure that he was running money through dollars that he was getting from JEA to promote the idea of a sale. So I don't think he's genuine when he talks about his commitment to not sell JEA, because he hasn't done anything over the course of the last 8 years to make that a point.
Nick, I can tell those are fighting words.
Yeah, it's just simply not true. Again, Daniel Davis was not in office during the sale of the process to sell JEA, and he said unequivocally tonight that the JEA will not be sold on his watch. No one is interested in selling JEA, and I like how he then talked about solutions for keeping rates affordable for Jacksonville ratepayers.
Was that realistic? I mean, he can't control the price of natural gas.
No, but he can control how JEA is run. He can control how they might take options on future prices of natural gas. He can work with JEA and its independent board to ensure that ratepayers are getting a fair deal.
All right, let's talk about affordable housing. That came up quite a bit. What jumped out at you the most, Daniel, about the affordable housing discussion?
This is an issue that touches everyone, no matter what side of town you live on, whether you've lived in Jacksonville your whole life or whether or not you've just moved here tomorrow. We have to deal with the affordable housing crisis. The fact that people can't find an apartment, let alone having to spend over $1,500 to get a 2-bedroom apartment, is completely crazy. The city has dollars right now that's sitting in a bank account that's not being used, over $60 million from the federal government, that we could be dealing with housing affordability. We haven't done that, and I think there's a lot of things that the city can do to help stem that problem. Dunn has a plan to achieve that, to make sure that we have more housing, that we deal with this issue, and she's the best candidate to solve it.
So, Nick, wait a minute. We have $60 million in a sofa somewhere that we're not spending?
Not that I know of. But one thing I heard tonight is Daniel Davis saying 10,000 affordable housing units during his 8 years in office. That's going to be a goal. He recognizes that it's not only a Jacksonville crisis, but it's a national crisis, affordable housing. He is focused on Jacksonville being a safer and more affordable city.
It's the set aside, by the way, from the federal dollars that they received. They set it aside for the incoming administration.
Have you guys thought about running for mayor? Is it too late? Could you still enter the race? I mean, it's only coming up in a few weeks. I think you guys should run. What do you think?
I can't imagine a better candidate than Daniel Davis, so no need.
What about you?
Donna's going to be awesome. We're looking forward to her being sworn in on July 1st.
All right, guys, thank you so much. We appreciate the breakdown of the debate. Deegan, Davis, head-to-head happened on Action News Jacks tonight. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us and breaking it on down.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
All right.